I've been mute this whole time, but it's okay. That gave me the reminder to go ahead and do what I need to do. Record for my VIPs. VIPs, why y'all didn't tell me I was muted? So I've been mute this whole time, but it's okay. That gave me the reminder to go ahead and do what I need to do. Record for my VIPs. VIPs, why y'all didn't tell me I was muted? So this whole time, but it's okay. That gave me the reminder to go ahead and do what I need to do. Okay, I was trying to for my VIP. Turn down the volume. All right, because I have to hear, it gives me the delay. All right, so we were here early, on time. All right, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again on day 3 for Coaching in Action Week. We've been dropping F-bombs all week. The first day we talked about the F-bomb of focus your awareness, and that replay is down below. And then for day 2, we talked about find your truth. So finding the truth, we had a little magnifying glass. I'm going to show you my visuals, but then I'm also going to show you the actual framework. So we had focus, CIA week. So we had focus. So y'all can see that. So we had, focus. And then we had find your truth. It's my little magnifying glass. And then today we're going to talk about flip. Oh no. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me because my thing broke. Oh no. We're going to talk about flip your script. All right. So you see the little flip, and then this is the script. That's my little document, and this is my little pencil and pen, my paper and pencil. All right. So focus your awareness. And before I get into that, I want to remind you of why I'm doing CIA week and talking about the path to your possibilities. This isn't just me just wanting to show up and tell you a little something to say, come join me. I believe that my people are going to find me and they're going to come to me regardless. But I wanted to be in a position where I do share some things that I've done myself, because when I look back over my life, I realized that I have done what I thought was impossible so many times. And I don't want people to think it's just a fluke or you have to be some kind of special person to make things happen. So that's not the case. I've also seen so many people who want to do great things, but then they find themselves stuck or stagnant. And so not only do I want to share what helped me, but it's even more rewarding, just like when I was a classroom teacher, when I can share with someone else and then they get results. They start turning what was impossible for them into a possible reality. And then I also want to be obedient. I'm just saying, God was like, hey, go do this. I got the divine download or the inspired action to do so. And I could have been like, oh, well, let me just wait until I feel like the time is right. I'm going to change out. No, this is going to have to work. I'm going to change out headphones just in case. This is going to be a little tacky, but it's okay because I want to make sure that you hear all this goodness. All right, this is what happens in real life. When I would teach and you see something that's, not going well, you adjust in real time. So there you have it. All right, so I've also like I said, being obedient and make sure I do this. And this is also expanding myself. And just like I've said so many times, I never try to coach or teach someone to do something that I haven't done myself. So this is me getting back into the groove of I've gotten really comfortable doing my videos, doing my webinars, my newsletters, my podcasts, and things like that. But to get back teaching live consistently, that has, just building up that muscle again. But it's really for if you never come across me again, and you've heard me say this, if you happen to come across a video and I don't know if this is your first time or last time, but I want to make sure that I leave you with something that can possibly change your life forever, to give you that shift to go into the direction that you want to go in, or share a story that you may have been give, thinking about giving up on yourself, but because you heard something that I said, it inspired you to keep going. I never want to miss an opportunity to share with you all. I did an interview this morning with someone, my EA, Marcia, and that will come out probably next month for Women's History Month. And we were talking about the time where we first met at this conference, and I won't go through the whole process, but I remember this phrase that I said to myself that I didn't quite believe at the time, but it has stuck with me. And now I'm like, no, that is really, really true. So I'm glad I went through the process of just getting it out of my mouth to actually living it, for it to be a realization. And I said, everyone who hears my voice will gain value from my message. And I used to just say it, but then I was like, because I was struggling with my own voice at the time, so voice is different from just talking for talking's sake, or, just being loud, but having some depth and some width and some breadth to what you're saying. I wanted everyone to hear my voice or come across my path to gain value from the message that I speak, the words that come out of my mouth. And I realized to do that, you got to show up and open your mouth and say something. All right. So that is what this whole week has been about: coaching in action, path to possibilities. I wanted you to get an experience of what I actually teach private clients, what I've been doing behind the scenes. And for people who've been coming to work with me privately, what I've been doing, I want to share it out there with you all publicly. I know some people are like, well, why are you sharing that if you work with your private clients? Well, one is because I'm just sharing you the framework. We go a lot deeper when, if you decide to work with me, whether in a group setting or one-on-one. And then, like I said before, I'm not here to hold any secrets back from you. I want you to jumpstart your life however you see possible. And then I also want to give people an opportunity to experience what it's like to see how I teach, get a framework, get a little bit of my personality here and there, and then to ask questions. And then coach people there in my VIP room. But we're going to do a little something different today, and I'll explain that because I got their permission. Not that I needed it, but I wanted to value their time because they took the time to invest to be in the room with me. So one thing I want to share, I think I alluded this to the night class on day 2 about this actual framework that I'm showing you: the F words, the focus, the find, and the flip. And then the 2 other ones that are going to come later this week, to the flex and the feature. I remember doing this work with a private client, a VIP. We spent the whole day together going through this process. And this is what I love about the Path to Possibilities framework. We can do it all and go deep dive one day. We can spread it out over a week, or we can spread it out even, for 6 months at a time if that's needed. So that's the good thing about having structure to a coaching program, or a coaching program. I remember she came to me and we did the whole pre-work, and she was talking about wanting to start her own consulting business. That's where it started. And for a lot of people, it starts with wanting to do something more in their business. So we went down and I had her do this goal setting process. And then it's like, well, what are we going to focus on? She gave me 12 things. I said, well, let's narrow down 3. And then we went through this process for each one of those. So one of them said focus. And then we got to finding the truth. And remember, we got to really, what do you want? And remember, go back to day 1 to go through all of those questions. Then on day 2, we did get to find your truth. And we went through that circle of chaos that was going around in her head. What was she avoiding? How was she sabotaging herself when that possibility first came up? And then what does she regret about doing or not doing? Or what was she angry about? So we were talking about all of those, the chaos that's swirling in her head, the confusion that was going on. So then we got down to something that didn't really come up initially. And this is what I love about transformational work. She kept wondering, like, well, why haven't I started my own business? And then she was focusing so much on that, and she realized that she wasn't feeling worthy or understanding the blessing of being a mother and a wife. And I know sometimes things don't always make sense, but the dots do eventually connect later. And she realized that she wasn't showing up fully as a wife or a mother because she kept trying to prove herself in her current work. She already had a doctorate degree. She was working, I think, as a project manager with this particular university, and she was doing some things, but not exactly what she wanted to do. So that's the thing with the people that I attract. On the outside, they look amazing. You know, people are like, "Wow, you're successful. You have everything checked off. All the boxes are ticked off." But internally, these people struggle the most. And when I say these people, I included. Sometimes we struggle the most because we do so well camouflaging the outside. It's like we can look good on paper and present a pretty face, but behind, you know, the closed doors, it's a lot that's going on the inside. And sometimes it's hard to say that to people who look at you and think that you should be good where you are, and you don't want to come off as complaining or ungrateful, you know, and that's kind of the space she was in. So we did this work, and then we got down to flipping the script. And what happened, she realized that there was something that was said to her while she was earning her doctorate degree, and questioned whether or not she should be in that place. And she would have to make a decision between being a wife and a mother and this professional space. And the person didn't say it to her in those exact words, but they said it to a way, and it made her feel a certain way about herself. So instead of her leaning into the blessing of being a mother and a wife and having a family, she realized that she put so much more pressure on herself to prove herself in this professional space because of what somebody said way back over here. Now, that person wasn't with her in this new project or in this new job, but she had been carrying that story with her this whole time. And that kept her from focusing on wanting to start her own consulting business because she was putting so much time and energy into the professional space in that particular setting, proving something to somebody that was all the way over here. So I wanted to share that brief story about what these small things can happen, what can happen when you don't focus your awareness on what's possible for you, what happens when you don't drill down to the truth about what's really stopping you. And then when you try to put those things into practice, when you try to shift your mindset, and then those stories keep coming up, how do you handle that? How do you flip that script in your head? So that's what we are going to talk about today. And again, I said I've done this many times for myself, especially with my own coaches. I've done this work, and even by myself, I've done this. And that's why I love transformational work. So it's not just, you know, a venting session when you come to me, or it's not just you have to save up all of your problems until our next coaching session. I want to make sure I leave you with actual tools that you can use to get yourself back on track. And then when we come together, we can take a deeper dive. But I don't want to leave you all out there just scrolling. So I'll do a visual recap in case you don't like my drawings. I'm going to share my screen really quickly just to show you the pathway, and then we're going to get into our day 3 lesson. Let's share my screen. All right, there we go. All right, so here's the path to possibilities. And so step 1, we talked about focus your awareness. And then we talked about finding your truth, and you see how it's a path, flipping your script. That's what we're on today. And then tomorrow, or day 4, we're going to talk about flex your bounce back. And then day 5, we're going to talk about feature your brilliance. So when you do all of that, that really keeps you on the path of what's possible for you. All right, so I just want to show you that quick visual to let you know. All right, I'm back. I want to show you that quick visual so that, you know, if you didn't like my drawing here, I have a more sophisticated document for you. All right, so let's jump right into our lesson for today. If you've been watching from day 1 to day 2 and you are an OG showing back up for day 3, let me know what your takeaways were in the comments down below. If you're new and you're like, what is this all about? You know, comment, ask me something down below. I usually only answer questions from my VIPs. in the room. But like I said, today is a little differently. So if I see your comment, I will respond to you because that's just the gift for today. All right. So I want to preface this flip the script. I want to let you know that it is a two-step part. I'm not going to go fully into the first step because it will require you to really dig down deep into where you did on days 1 and 2 to create to focus on an experience and deep dive. Because I haven't seen all of your steps 1 and step 2, and you're not in the room with me, like either physically or in my virtual space, and then we have time to do this, it would be irresponsible of me to take you into a place and I'm not there to bring you back out. That's a lesson that I learned from my coach, especially doing transformational work. But I also learned that from when I was teaching mathematics. I'm not going to give students a problem at the end of the class and say, hey, go figure this thing out. And I haven't given them the resources or the time to take them through. Because if I do that, then they'll get frustrated and then that'll dismantle all of the work that we did prior to get them to that point. So I'm going to just say it will, and I'll tell you what you can do, but then I'll take you down into step 2 and I will give you the actual prompt because that's really where the magic is. And that way you can judge, because you are not like with me, you can judge how deep you want to go and what experience you want to tackle and where you feel safe to bring yourself back out. So I'm going to give you the series of questions. All right. So if we were working together, you will tell me that experience and I will keep drilling down and down and we will go through all of the different layers and then start answering the questions. But I think you've done enough work, especially if you've been here with me for day 1 and day 2, to now we can jump into this part. So I want you to think about an experience that has probably kept you back on a possibility that you have. And I'm going to leave it right there. All right. So flipping your script, meaning you're going to get some pencil and paper and you're going to write down some things. But a script really is what keeps us stuck is a story that we keep telling ourselves. It's a belief, a thought that we keep saying over and over to ourselves. And we think that it's true. And we believe it. So if you, and you may not like, well, how, I'm not saying things to myself. I wouldn't be that mean to myself. Yes, you would. Well, how do you know? Like you don't really want to work out. What's going to happen if you have to buy new clothes? Or what are your friends going to say if you start being smaller than them? Or who do you think you are to want that type of car or that type of job? Or why do you want to change careers? And you sure you want to get into this coaching space? Who told you to start investing into cryptocurrency? You don't know anything about that. Isn't that a scam anyway? Matter of fact, isn't all of this a scam anyway? Those are the things that you keep saying to yourself over and over. And it may be subconsciously, you find yourself always trying to get in the process of moving towards something. And then you're like, you get ready to pop up or take a step and it's something pops you upside the head. Sometimes that's you beating yourself up with a stick, or it could be something else external that's popping upside the head. And when I was going through this to explain it, I got the visual of like whack-a-mole. I don't know if y'all remember that game where the heads would pop up and you just try to beat it down. That's kind of like what a lot of us have done. We, like, oh yeah, I think that's possible. Let me go and look out and see over the horizon. It's like, plop, who do you think you are? Sit back down. You're not worthy of that. Oh, you want more money? That's being selfish. Or you want to do this? No, you don't have time for that. Those are things that just pops you back down and bops you back down. And all of a sudden, you just bop. And then you never get back up, right? So then if that, doesn't help you, another example could be about training elephants. If you know anything about how people used to train elephants, maybe they still do, I don't know. But for the circus, really, elephant, massive, massive animal. And when they're little, the circus people, the trainers put the chains on them to keep them in line, right? Or they're chained to each other. So it keeps them in line. So they try and they fight. Every time they try to go somewhere, the chain pulls them back. Every time they go, the chain pulls them back. And then till they get older, what's stuck in their mind is like, oh, every time I take this step, I can't go too far because then I get jerked back. And then when they become older, And they're these massive, massive animals. Not, they're massive and they're little, but they're even more grand now. Now the trainers don't have to use the chains, the heavy chains. They can simply just use a rope and put around their ankle, something that's so light, something so small that they can just put around their ankle, and the feeling of something around their ankle will keep them in place. And then I've seen to where they can remove those small ropes, and because the elephant has been so conditioned not even to step out anymore, but just to stay where they are, they don't have to use anything to tie them, because now the tie is in their mind. It's a mental bondage that they are in. And I think a lot of people, a lot of us have been in a place where we've gotten to possibilities, we've reached a certain level, but I think, like I said, on day 2, we plateaued, or we've been beat down so much about trying to step out that we don't dream anymore. So I want to say that's another reason why I started this coaching in action week. And then we're going to talk about the membership later on, to be in that community to where if you're feeling like you're beat down on the outside, you come into a space where there are no chains, or we work to cut the ties to that mental bondage. And that's what flipping your script is. So this one is going to be a little shorter today, because I told you my VIPs are going to allow me to talk more about the next step after this. They've been so gracious, so thank you all for that. But I am going to give you these questions, and I'm going to just take my time telling you these questions, because this is the day this is the day that you really need to do the work. So if you casually went over day 1 and you casually went over day 2, this is the day that you're going to have to do something to get the momentum, because now days 4 and day 5 will not make sense to you, or it's going to be a tougher climb. So do day 3 if you don't do anything else. They do build, but if you just jump on the on-ramp, this is a good time. So the first question is, and this is flipping the script, what do you need to let go of? So you were right. What do I need to let go of? But I'm telling you, what do you need to let go of? And now that can be as it relates to what came up when you had to focus your awareness and find your truth. I did preface this and say, like, when I do work with groups or individuals, you start with a life experience, but I'm not going to take you through that entire deep down process. So if you had a thought, and it may not be related to a goal, just a thought, something that happened to you, then think about what you need to let go of. All right. And don't judge it. That's the other thing. I think sometimes we avoid this work, or we don't take the time to do this work, because we think we are so evolved that we like, why am I thinking these thoughts? I shouldn't have these thoughts. I thought I was over that. Well, if it keeps coming up, then sweetheart, you're not over it. All right. And it's okay. So don't judge yourself. I judge myself, and this is what slowed me down in the process. So if I can teach you a lesson learned, then I'm here for it. I judged myself for having thoughts about when I had to release my mother's house after I graduated with my PhD. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm smart. I have this whole doctorate degree. You need to tell me that I didn't understand the rules of engagement for real estate or foreclosure or things like that. So it was my fault. And I used to say I lost my mother's house. I used to say that, and I would beat myself up about that. And it was years later, and that kept me from trying to purchase my own home, because I kept telling myself, well, I lost my mother's house. What happens if I get a house and I lose it too? Now, one didn't have anything to do with the other, but that's the story I kept telling myself. So I had to let go of, one, shame around that, blame around that, guilt around that, and then understand you did the best that you could where you were. So I had to let go of that. So I went, now your turn. What do you need to let go of? Number 2, what do I need to forgive? Or who do I need to forgive? What do I need to forgive? Or who do I need to forgive? Now, or what can be a situation or an event that you could have been you. You created the situation or the event. And then it could be a person that you're holding on to. For my dissertation process, for a long time, I would um, be so upset at my dissertation chair and how she treated me through this whole experience. And yeah, I came out on the other side, but I didn't even like to see her name anywhere, right? So I had to forgive her in that case. So sometimes it's a person, and then sometimes you need to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for being angry at a situation or causing harm to someone. You get to determine that. But I will say, just focus on one experience. I know I'm giving you different examples. Focus on one experience and you answer these questions all the way down to the bottom. So don't jump. I'm just giving you different examples. All right. So number 3, this one can be a little tough, but I promise it's there somewhere. It's there. I promise. What do I love about the lesson? So what did you love about the lesson that you learned? And remember, there is a lesson because you've overcome it. You're on the other side of this experience. Now, this is why I didn't want to take you through the first process, because I didn't want you to get triggered about something that you're currently in. And sometimes the first part of that process can do that. So that's why we didn't get there. So again, I'm not holding anything back. I'm just, being a responsible coach and teacher. All right. So you know that you've overcome something. And then think about a lesson learned. All right. What did you learn? What did you love about that lesson? I know love. Whew, it was like, it didn't feel like it was a love in that moment, but look where you are right now. And then you can turn back with that love and appreciation for that experience. Number 4, what are you excited about now? And you may not be able to do this in real time like you were doing the other one. So this is why I'm taking my time to let you hear the questions so you can go back and do them. But promise that you'll do them, okay? You promise? You promise? All right. What were you excited about? Or what are you excited about now based on that life experience and that lesson learned? And then number 5, because of this lesson, what new opportunities are available to you? Now, again, you may struggle with this one because I think a lot of times, especially those of us who are high achievers and go-getters and risk takers, we go and achieve and we keep going. We go and achieve and we keep going. Thank you for that acknowledgement. Thank you for that award. Thank you for that. And we just keep going. Or it's a stumble, it's a hurdle. We pick ourselves up, we limp across, and we just keep going. But we don't take the time to really sit and reflect and look back over all of this and say, well, because I went through that, what opportunities have now come up that probably wouldn't have shown up before had I not gone through that experience. So because of this lesson or this experience, what new opportunities are now available? And that's how you flip the script. So you probably had something negative that was going on in your mind. And all right, if you want somebody to say, can you go through the whole process with one example? All right, sure. So I started off says, what do I need to let go of? I gave you the example of my mother's house, me releasing my mother's house. At that time, I used to say, I lost my mom's house. So I had to let go of that wasn't my fault. I had to let go of the blame, guilt, and shame of that. And it literally took me saying, I did the best that I could with what I knew. I had to say that to myself over and over and over until I actually believed it. Then it says, what do I need to forgive or who do I need to forgive? I had to forgive everyone that was involved in that process. And I literally had to write out their names and say that, okay, I forgive them for that. They were doing the best that they could in that particular situation. Whatever my lens or filter was against that person, I had to let that go and look with empathy and say, hey, they were doing what they thought was best. And for all people involved, and I had to let that go. And then I had to forgive myself because, again, ego should have been smart, should have known better. And I had to forgive myself for beating myself up and carrying that weight. What did I love about that lesson? That lesson taught me that because I have certain credentials, that doesn't mean that I have to know the answer to everything. Somewhere down the line, this PhD became, oh, you must know everything. And I carried that, whether it was intentional or unintentional. I didn't take the time to dig up where that came from. I was like, that was irrelevant. But I learned that, yeah, just because you got your PhDs in math, it wasn't in real estate or portfolio. It wasn't in any of that. So chill out, chick. So I love that I learned to, stay in my lane and release. And it's okay to say, I don't know, because I didn't want to say I didn't know, or I don't have the solution to that problem. And that was okay. So I love that I learned that about myself and I released myself from that. So what am I excited about now? Well, now it's like I have my own house and I'm excited about that. And I was able to ask for support in that process, and I was able to enjoy the process. I mean, it was a little stressful only because of how quickly it happened, but I was able to really trust God and grow in my faith around that. So that's what I'm excited about now, that I'm actually in my own home and I've gotten a closer relationship with God because of how that process went and because of what I have learned and let go the former thing. Because of this lesson, what new opportunities are available? Well, one is right here in front of you. I get to share that process with you. I get to share that experience with someone who could be in a situation, and it could be house related or whatever, and you don't see the other side. You don't see any out. And my opportunities to share is that, hey, there truly is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I know we hear that metaphorically, but a light being at the end of the tunnel is actually a person like, hey, I promise you will get through this. You can get out of the darkness, I know, but see, focus on that. You're almost there. So that's an opportunity I get to share with someone. And then all the resources that I learned about housing and all of that, I get to share those with other people so they can get their homes too. So there you go. That was really quick in a nutshell. And I will say this, it took me a while before I can actually say those things because I was stuck on question number one, what do I need to let go of, for a long time? And it took some work and for me to deep dive. So I don't want you to think that this is a 10-minute, exercise and then you're going to be free. For some people, depending on what situation you may be, but then go to something else. All right. So it's a never ending process. But I don't want to say that to say that you got to stay in it. I do want you to get, because I think a lot of times we get to who do I need to forgive and and then we don't talk about the lessons learned. Like, revel in the lessons learned, revel in the fact that you overcame that situation. So how was that, VIPs? Cool? That was good? You can do it now? All right. So y'all better say thank you to the VIPs who are in the room because I wasn't planning on going through a full example, but again, I have no problem doing that. All right, so that's actually our lesson for today. Remember, we focus our awareness on something that we want to accomplish, and we had to say what we don't want, what we do want, the mindset that we need to have, and then the action or the practice that we're going to put in place to do it. Then we had to find our truth. Like, well, what's really going on? Why are we procrastinating? Why are we self-sabotaging? When it comes to that, what is it? And don't say I don't know, because you do. You know yourself. You know yourself better than anyone. So take time to sit with yourself and observe your patterns. One way to observe your patterns is if you write down what you do in the day or what you don't do in the day. That's one way. And then you can go back and say, well, why did I sit here and why was I on social media for 2 hours when I knew I could have been doing laundry or writing this book or making a meal plan for me to eat healthy and things like that. So that's what I mean by the circle of chaos and observing your unhealthy patterns. And then flipping your script. All that is when you can identify why you're self-sabotaging. Think of a time where you can remember that you've self-sabotaged or that I'll say self-sabotage. You know what that is. And if not, you can talk more about that. But think of a time when that happened, and then what was the story that you kept telling yourself? And now that you're on the other side of that, go through all of those questions. What do you need to let go of? What do you need to forgive? What did you love about this lesson now that you're on the other side of that? Don't pick something that you're still in the middle of because you're going to get frustrated. And then there's nothing to love about something that you're in the middle of right now. I mean, that's an advanced skill, but a lot of us don't love where we are when we're still in the middle of something. So be honest with yourself. What are you excited about and what new opportunities are available for you? All right. So that was day 3. Remember, we're going to come back because now that we've done the heavy lifting, now it's time to go over the edge and then pick up the momentum to our possibilities. Because there's one more hurdle we have to go over. And I think that's going to help a lot of you to finally, because even if you thought up today was like, yeah, day 4 is really is where it's gonna come, it's gonna get you. It's gonna get you right there. And you're gonna have no more excuses to go after your possibilities of what we talked about on day 5. All right, so I am going to, like I said, I got permission from the VIPs to forego the coaching questions or situations so I can talk to you more about what happens after this week. So this week has been inspired by another coach. And I was like, you know what? Ego, and again, transparent moment. I was like, I've been talking about this like kind of indirectly for almost a month. If you, I'm going to pull it up and show you what I'm talking about. All the reels that I've been doing on my Instagram, on my Facebook, on my YouTube short, they've been little clips about the brilliant possibilities. And I've talked about they've been kind of long, between 20 and like 45 minutes worth of videos, but I cut up little clips so you can see them. And then I tell you to go to the YouTube channel, follow along. And at the end of that, I was like, this is things that we're going to be doing in my membership, Power of Your Possibilities membership. But then I was like, well, what if people really, they're watching it, but they're like, a membership, why a membership? Like, I don't want to do anything else. I was like, all right, I get it, because I could see that. So before I show you everything, why a membership and not a program? Well, a membership, think about a gym, and there are different levels to that. Can you turn on YouTube and do some workouts on your own? Absolutely. So my version of that is all of my YouTube videos on, certain things. And I'm going to show you one particular playlist that you can watch. That could be you on your own. Cool. And then I have a book. Can y'all see it right here? You can order my book. You can get that. Cool. Be on your own. Then, like when you go to a gym, it's like, if I sit here in this house and if I have to turn on YouTube, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to do it. Or I'll do it for a little bit, but who's really checking me? Nobody. So then a lot of people join a gym. It's like, okay, at least let me get out of the house. Let me get in the environment of actually working out. So you get into a membership and you join. Now, if you're really good about that, then you start taking like some classes in the gym membership. And because you've invested in that and you know that you're probably going to have a trainer or a class to go to, you start being more involved in that. And you do it for as long as you need to do it. And then if you really want to get results, then you hire a private trainer. And then that's where, I work with people one-on-one from if they do a VIP session with me all the way up to my year-long $100,000 mastermind program. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about a membership to be in the community. And it started off as I was going to do this as a program. But then I was like, okay, we're in here for 8 weeks. Or, I think I did this one for 8 weeks. Or even if it was 12 weeks. After that, then it's like, all right, go out, go forth and conquer. Or wait till I come up with another program for you to join. And I was like, well, so much momentum can be lost in that time. The people that I've worked with one-on-one, they do great. They have good results. We have a check-in period after, up until a certain point. But then they were like, it would have been really good if there was a way that I could check back in so that if I decided, or when I do decide to come back and work with you one-on-one, I'm not starting from scratch or at a lower level. I've been able to keep up some momentum, and now we can address even bigger issues instead of, all right, gotta, do all the heavy lifting again just to get to this point. And it's like the progress is slowed down. So they're like, it would be nice if like after we meet with you and do have our check-ins, we can still be in the community and picking up nuggets every now and then to keep that momentum going. And then we can be ready for this higher level. And then they were like, well, what about the people who either aren't ready to invest at the higher level. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. How to keep them into like the gym, just come into the gym and be in that atmosphere. So that's where Power Up Your Possibilities came from. And I am going to share my screen and show it to you. That's the brochure. All right. So this is the Power Up Your Possibilities Incubator. It's a hub. So just like, when you were in college, you probably didn't think about it. You were in a little hub where you were secluded. Even though it may have been 50,000 of y'all, but y'all were in this one space. Or think about just the classroom or the program or the actual college you were in. It was a college of engineering, college of education, college of business. Think about those little pods, and that's kind of what a membership community is. So you're in a space where you're getting touch points through, most of the time, and you're not just out there by yourself. You're going through this work, just like this framework, and this is the time where you get to ask me those questions, and we can take a deep dive into what's coming up for you, and then walk you through the pathway. So this is one framework that I use, and I have other frameworks and systems in place for you to do that. This is where I say download the brochure. If you're on my link tree, you can go get the brochure like immediately. And then I have a video where I do an overview of the brochure, and you can get the actual brochure that way. And then I say you're going to learn step by step how to shatter those mental blocks that are keeping you stuck. And this is one way we do that. This is an actual framework that we will use. And then I talk about, I say tired of buying courses or hiring coaches, but never get to the level that you desire. All of that is about to change. Overwhelm and confusion is understandable. However, staying overwhelmed and confused is a strategy and a choice. So being in a community or an incubator eliminates that. It is a part of accountability as well, but if you're around people that are not sitting down on themselves, then you're more likely to continue the momentum as well. So I talk about the Power Up tip, and you'll see how to get to this information. But this is really it. The world is waiting for you. It's time for you to upload your thinking, change your perspective, release the information junkie addiction. Stop trying to just go to these, coaches and courses, just gathering things. If you're not putting anything in action, you're wasting your time and money. And then get into a space and a community where implementation is the winner, not your position, titles, or degree. And that's where I talk to you about Power Up Your Possibilities. You can read that for yourself. Now, here's the part. There is a founding members option, meaning because I started this probably like the second week of February, I was like, okay, I'll do a soft opening. And then I was like, I can close it up on the 26th. But then people in my VIP group was like, all right, to be fair, Dr. B, we kind of didn't really know about this. So can you extend it a little bit? And I was like, you know what? All right, because you asked, I'm extending it to, I think I said March 5th, but I'll update this. And then I do explain why we do a 6-month commitment. Now I know, like you're like, well, I go to a gym membership, they say I can cancel anytime, which is true. But that gives you an out. That means like, oh, I can just throw this away. And if I don't show up, oh well. Then you're like, oh, it didn't just work for me. No, you didn't work for yourself. I'm just straight up being honest. So if you have a commitment, at least you have to be in the role for at least 6 months. That'll give you time or us time to go through a framework, actually learn some strategies and tools about what's possible for you, go through some of this work. You've seen a little bit of what we've done, and now take time to be in the space to actually implement and practice and ask questions in a community and not by yourself. Because I could keep it as a program where we go through the 6 to 12 weeks, however long I was going to do it, and then all right, go forth and conquer, and then just wait to join my mastermind to go to the next step. But I didn't want to do that unless you wanted to do that. I wanted to give everyone access. So it's just like everyone can go to the gym and sign up for the membership and still get great results from that, being in the environment and have access to all the tools. And then it's up to you if you want to get personal training or private training. And that's what I did here, because I said you can pay in full, you can do 247 for 6 months, pay in full, or then you can do get some one-on-one time with me in the membership group. Now those prices are going to go away. I'll change this. It'll now be March 5th, and you'll see the updated version, and I'll talk about this again tomorrow. And then what we talk about and what you get, so it's not just a bunch of us just coming together talking. I'm actually going to do some teaching. So it's like you get mind shift coaching. Yes, you do. Just kind of like what we're doing now, but like the VIPs, where you all don't see. I do answer questions, but what you all don't see, and when you're brave enough, we talk about on camera, and they tell you specifically about what's happening, and we dissect that. Then I give you another roadmap or curriculum to all of my stuff. You'll get access to a lot of things, but I don't want to overload you. I don't want you to just be consuming stuff or just having it on your computer. No, we're going to actually go through the curriculum, because I'm an educator at heart. So we have curriculum to go through. And then we do a calibration system before we do anything to get you back into line to the goals and possibilities and the dreams that you once had. You do those first so that everything else can make sense. And this is why I said the vault. So in addition to the curriculum, the new curriculum that you're going to get, this lesson is also in the vault with workbooks and everything. And then some of my other frameworks that I've done with private clients will be in the vault. And then, of course, like-minded community with people. I said, yeah, the objective is simple: to help you shift your mind now so you can change your life now. So yeah, everything starts in your mind, but I don't want to just say, oh, it's mindset, but then I give you some tools to do that. And then you can keep going further. Now, after the founding members price, the $247 a month, it goes to $297 a month. It goes to $297 after the founding members, and that's what it is after March 5th, and then everything goes up for that. So this is the brochure if you want to take time to go back. So if you're like, okay, I see the website, and then what? You get the brochure so you can take time to read it. I also have like a small video overview for you to go through it. So it's similar to what I said on the page for the Power of Your Possibilities membership. But some people just like to have something that they can look at that's not like the web page. So you had this document here, and then just one. Then it goes through again. So I break it down even further about what you get. Some lounge and learns. Some people have joined me on those. You get interactive calls, bonus resources, some other resources that you get. The beautiful thing about a membership is when things come up in a group, then if I'm not the expert in that area, I have a wide range of resources that I can tap into, and then I can bring those experts in to help you. So parenting, anything about branding, writing a book, publishing, business, have a lot of business access, even deeper mindset work, a lot of things like that. So that is some of the bonuses that you get in those areas. So you can, all right, I'm gonna jump out of this because I think I have too much going on, and the computer's like, can you chill out? So let me show you one more thing in case you're like, you're fully not convinced. Not that I have to convince you. So I'm going to my page, Dr. Vernita Glenn White, .com/blog. I'm going to share that screen with you very quickly. So if you're like, well, I don't know if I'm ready yet. If you go to this, drvernitaglenwhite.com/ my blog page, you will see this right here. It says, grab your guide for the Brilliant Possibilities sequence to follow along. Let's explore your possibilities. You will download the actual workbook to go along with all of the clips that I've been doing for the last month. You can listen to the audio version, or you can go to my YouTube channel and watch the video version. And then there's a workbook that that goes along with this for you to answer questions along the way. So that's another opportunity for you to experience what the membership will be like. All right. So I'm going to stop that. So that's what I want to share with you. I didn't want to hold you up too long. I thank you for my VIPs who allowed me to go through that with you. If you have any questions, I will answer them again tomorrow or on day 4 about the membership. And if you're like, oh, I came in late and I want to be here live, remember we do this again for the night class at 7 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel at Dr. Vernita White. So it is like my Facebook. I have 2 pages, but remember, it's Dr. Vernita White, and then you can join me live. And if you want to be in the VIP room, you can go to bit.ly/CIA VIP, all caps. It has been in the description. All right. So thank you so much. Let me know what came up for you. Thank you for joining me on day 3 of CIA week. And remember, we talked about focusing your awareness, finding your truth, and today we just finished flipping the script, the story that you're telling yourself. All right. So again, I will see you. I'll be here all week. Thank you so much. And remember, the world needs you to be well, to be empowered, to be bold, and be brilliant. Until next time, bye. VIPs, y'all stay right here with you. Bye, everyone.